The rain had been falling across northern Georgia for hours, turning the empty highway into a ribbon of shimmering reflections. Beneath the headlights, it was close to midnight, the kind of hour when small-town gas stations became quiet islands for weary travelers. Most people stopping there were simply looking for coffee, fuel, or a few minutes to stretch before continuing their journey home. A black SUV rolled slowly beneath the flickering canopy lights and came to a smooth stop beside Pump 3. The driver stepped out without rushing. She was a black woman in her early 40s wearing dark jeans, sturdy boots, and a plain navy jacket that concealed the badge clipped inside her waistband. Her name was Sergeant Maya Brooks, a respected police officer with years of experience, serving communities across the state. Tonight, however, she looked like any ordinary traveler finishing a long drive. Maya had spent nearly 10 hours on the road after completing a demanding assignment that required patience, discipline, and careful judgment. She believed that being a police officer was never about power. It was about protecting people, making difficult decisions with integrity, and remembering that every person deserved to be treated with dignity, regardless of who they were or where they came from. She inserted her card into the gas pump and listened to the steady hum as fuel flowed into her SUV. The cool rain tapped softly against the metal roof above her, while a gentle breeze carried the scent of wet asphalt through the nearly empty parking lot. For the first time all day, she allowed herself to take a deep breath. Inside the convenience store, a young cashier looked up from organizing shelves. Something about Maya caught his attention. It wasn't fear or suspicion. It was the quiet confidence she carried. She wasn't talking on her phone or looking around nervously. She simply stood there with remarkable patience, watching the rain while waiting for the tank to fill. Near another pump, an older customer sipping coffee glanced toward Maya's SUV. Earlier that evening, he had overheard fragments of a police scanner, mentioning a dark SUV connected to an investigation in a neighboring county. The description had been incomplete, but as often happens, uncertainty quickly became assumption. "Looks kinda like the vehicle they mentioned," he muttered quietly. Another customer overheard the comment. "You think that's the one? I don't know, maybe." Within moments, uncertainty spread through the small gas station, faster than facts ever could. Nobody actually knew anything. No one had seen a crime. No one recognized the driver. Yet quiet conversations began filling the air, each version sounding slightly more certain than the last. The cashier glanced outside again. He noticed Maya calmly wiping rainwater from her windshield, with a cloth she kept in the driver's door. Her movements were organized and deliberate, reflecting years of professional habit rather than nervousness, still influenced by the conversations around him. He picked up the store phone and called the local police department's non-emergency line. "I'm probably overthinking this," he admitted, "but there's a woman here, driving a black SUV that looks similar to one mentioned earlier. I just thought someone should check." The dispatcher thanked him and noted the information. There was no emergency, no accusation, only a request for officers to verify whether the vehicle matched the earlier report. Outside, Maya remained completely unaware of the phone call. She checked the fuel gauge, cleaned the driver's side mirror, and looked across the empty highway stretching into the darkness. Years in law enforcement had taught her to appreciate peaceful moments, because they never lasted as long as people imagined. She believed that every officer represented something larger than a uniform. Whether wearing a badge openly or traveling off-duty, professionalism never ended when a shift was over. Respect, patience, and restraint were qualities she practiced every day, because she understood that trust between police officers and the communities they served was built through countless ordinary moments far down the highway. Faint flashes of red and blue lights began reflecting against the rain-soaked pavement, growing brighter with every passing second. The flashing red and blue lights grew brighter as 3 patrol cars rolled into the gas station, their tires hissing across the rain-soaked pavement. Every conversation stopped. The customers standing beneath the canopy instinctively turned their attention toward the arriving officers. Even the cashier stepped closer to the front window, curiosity replacing the nervousness he had felt only moments before. The lead officer, Sergeant Daniel Carter, stepped out first. He was a veteran patrol supervisor, known throughout the county for taking every suspicious call seriously. Behind him came officers Ryan Miller and Jacob Torres, both younger officers, eager to follow procedure and support their supervisors' decisions. Sergeant Carter approached Maya with measured confidence. "Good evening, ma'am," he said firmly. "Would you mind stepping away from your vehicle for a moment?" Maya immediately nodded. "Of course, officer." Without hesitation, she stepped back from the SUV. keeping both hands visible, exactly as officers are trained to do. Years in law enforcement had taught her that calm communication often prevented situations from escalating even while off duty. She respected the difficult job every responding officer faced. They were acting on information they believed might protect the public. "I appreciate your cooperation. Carter said I understand why you're here." Maya replied calmly, "I'd want officers to investigate if they believed someone could be in danger." Her answer briefly surprised the younger officers. Most people became defensive during traffic stops or investigations. Maya remained composed, speaking with quiet confidence rather than frustration. "May I see your identification?" Carter asked. She slowly reached into her jacket, clearly announcing every movement before making it. "My wallet is inside my left pocket." She carefully removed her identification and handed it over. With both hands, Officer Miller examined the credentials, while Carter continued observing Maya's calm expression. "You said you're law enforcement?" Carter asked. "Yes, sir." "Where do you work?" "I'd rather allow dispatch to verify my credentials." Her answer was professional but unusual. Officer Miller looked at the identification again. "It says police officer." The rain continued falling steadily around them. One customer quietly whispered to another, "She doesn't look like a cop." Another responded, "That's probably fake." The comments reached Maya's ears, but she ignored them completely. Throughout her career, she had learned that appearances often shaped first impressions. As a black woman in law enforcement, she had spent years proving that courage, professionalism, and leadership had nothing to do with race or gender. She never allowed assumptions to define her character. Sergeant Carter noticed several large storage cases visible through the SUV's rear window. "Do you mind if we take a look inside your vehicle?" Maya answered immediately, "I don't mind. Everything inside belongs to me." Officer Torres carefully opened the rear compartment. Inside were neatly organized emergency medical supplies, tactical flashlights, protective equipment, field notebooks, traffic investigation tools, rescue ropes, and several locked equipment cases. Nothing appeared illegal still. The amount of specialized equipment caught everyone's attention. Officer Miller lifted a heavy medical bag. "This isn't ordinary first aid equipment." "No," Maya answered quietly. "It isn't." Another officer found advanced rescue gear, used during emergency operations. Everything was clean, organized, and carefully maintained. There were no weapons lying around carelessly. No suspicious packages, no stolen property. Only professional equipment, belonging to someone who clearly valued preparation and responsibility. Yet uncertainty continued filling the parking lot. The customers recording with their phones whispered among themselves, "If she's really an officer, then why doesn't anyone recognize her?" Sergeant Carter remained focused. Experience had taught him never to assume either guilt or innocence too quickly. Every call deserved careful investigation until the facts became clear. He looked back toward Maya. "You've remained remarkably calm through all of this." She offered a small, respectful smile. "When you wear a badge long enough, you learn that emotions can either solve problems or create them." "I choose to stay calm." Her words caused Officer Torres to hesitate. Something about her professionalism reminded him of instructors from the police academy. Every answer she gave reflected discipline rather than fear. Still, department policy required them to continue verifying her identity before making any conclusions. The rain continued falling steadily as more people gathered beneath the gas station canopy, watching silently while Sergeant Carter reached for his radio to request additional verification through dispatch. Sergeant Carter stood silently beside his patrol car as dispatch processed the information from Maya's identification. Rain continued tapping against the windshield, while the radio crackled with routine traffic. Officer Miller watched the computer screen, expecting an ordinary personnel file to appear. Instead, the display froze for several seconds before a bold message filled the monitor. "Restricted access authorization required. Contact command immediately." The three officers exchanged confused glances. "I've never seen that before," Officer Torres admitted quietly. Carter frowned and picked up the radio. "Dispatch, this is Unit 12. Can you confirm this return? Our system is requesting command authorization." There was a brief silence. Then the dispatcher responded, with a voice that sounded noticeably different from before. "Unit 12 remain on scene. Do not take further action. A command officer is responding to your location." The parking lot suddenly felt much quieter. Even the customers recording with their phone sensed that something had changed. A minute later, another transmission interrupted every radio in the patrol cars. "Attention all units at the gas station. Maintain a professional scene. The individual you have detained has verified law enforcement credentials. A senior command team is en route. Sergeant Carter slowly lowered his radio. His confidence was replaced by concern. He looked toward Maya, who remained standing peacefully in the rain, without showing anger or resentment. Although she had every reason to be frustrated, she had treated every officer with patience and respect from the very beginning. Within minutes, several unmarked black SUVs entered the parking lot. Their headlights reflected across the wet pavement as they stopped beside the patrol cars. The drivers stepped out wearing command uniforms. Among them was Deputy Chief Angela Reynolds, one of the most respected leaders in the state. She walked directly toward Maya before looking at the three officers. "Remove the handcuffs," she said calmly. Officer Miller immediately unlocked them. Deputy Chief Reynolds turned toward Maya with genuine respect. "Sergeant Brooks, thank you for your patience. I apologize for the inconvenience." Maya simply nodded. "I understand they were responding to a call. Public safety requires officers to investigate suspicious reports." Her answer surprised everyone standing nearby. She wasn't interested in embarrassing anyone. She wasn't demanding punishment. She understood the difficult responsibility carried by every police officer who answered uncertain calls in the middle of the night. Deputy Chief Reynolds faced Sergeant Carter. "You followed the report you received, and protecting the community is your duty. But tonight reminds all of us that every investigation must be guided by facts, professionalism, and respect. Assumptions should never replace careful judgment." Carter lowered his head. "You're right, Chief." He turned toward Maya. "Sergeant Brooks, I'm sincerely sorry. I should have listened more carefully before reaching conclusions." Maya extended her hand. "We all wear the same badge for the same reason, to protect people. The public watches how we treat one another. Respect between officers builds trust with every community we serve." Carter accepted her handshake. "So does humility," he replied. Around them, the customers quietly lowered their phones. Many had arrived expecting to witness an arrest. Instead, they witnessed something far more meaningful. They saw accountability. They saw professionalism. They saw officers willing to admit mistakes. Most importantly, they saw a black woman whose strength came not from anger, but from integrity, patience, and unwavering character. The young cashier slowly walked outside. "I'm sorry," he said softly. "I made the call because I was afraid." Maya smiled kindly. "You cared enough to report something that concerned you. Never stop looking out for your community. Just remember that every person deserves fairness until the facts are known." The young man nodded, knowing he would remember those words for the rest of his life. As Maya prepared to leave, the rain finally began to ease. The clouds slowly opened, revealing a few stars above the quiet highway. She climbed into her SUV, started the engine, and gave the officers one final, respectful nod before driving into the night. Everyone who remained at that little gas station carried home a lesson much greater than the events they had witnessed. They learned that real leadership is measured by character, not appearance. Real courage is choosing respect when misunderstanding would be easier, and the strongest people are often those who remain calm when the world misjudges them. If this story touched your heart, let us know in the comments. What was the biggest lesson you learned from Sergeant Maya Brooks's response? Have you ever witnessed a moment where respect changed everything? We'd love to read your thoughts, and tell us what kind of inspiring story you'd like to watch next. Your comments help shape future videos, and your ideas may inspire the next unforgettable story on this channel.